wildernesses do not last. So if you are conquered in the wilderness, then the truth of the matter is you have been conquered by something that is passing away. It conquers you tomorrow, we don't even see what conquered you. Because it's temporal. Wilderness is by definition temporal. It doesn't last long. Doesn't matter what it is. Wilderness doesn't last long. So be careful to make permanent solutions for temporal problems. So somewhere in what I've said is the title of this sermon. Wilderness is temporal. If you remember in Daniel chapter 5, God through Daniel seeks to address the rebellion in the heart of Nebuchadnezzar. And this is how he puts it. He says, till you know that God rules in the kingdom of men and that he gives it to whomever he chooses, you will be in the wilderness. You will eat grass for 7 years until you recognize that God rules. And the emphasis is not the ruling of God, but the ruling of God in your kingdom. God does not say you don't rule, I rule. He says you rule, but I rule in your kingdom. So I'm the king in your kingdom. You are the king, no problem, but I'm the king. I'm your king. So he's the King of Kings. Actually, I'm not going to do that now, but the book of Daniel seeks to underline that theme, and that is God rules, heaven rules. The book Daniel, God my judge, God is in control, God rules. It's not only the theme in the book of Daniel, it's the theme in the whole Bible. You see, the Bible seeks to impress on our minds that God rules. The devil thinks he's a ruler, and there are some people who think that God and the devil are ruling. God rules. He's the king. He's not the president. You don't vote for him. The last book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 19 says, picturing Christ riding on the white horse, on his thighs written, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. It would appear therefore that this theme, as they would say, this motif runs through the whole Bible, and that God rules. And those of us who struggle with this can be rightfully referred to as rebels. That was the problem with Nebuchadnezzar. Because we had shown in Daniel chapter 2 that he did accept at some point that God rules, that God is the God of gods and is the Lord of kings. And in chapter 2, that point is clearly spelled out, that God rules. And we read Daniel chapter 2, we study Daniel chapter 2 in our churches, but sometimes we forget the main point in that image, and that is God rules. Even as Daniel interprets the image, you remember the image? The image, the head was the head of, and what is the next thing? The breast of, the breast of silver, and the belly of bronze, and the legs of, and the feet of, I'm watching you, and the feet of iron and clay. So at the feet they've got 10 toes, which also represent, in this kingdom, 10 divided, a division of 10 kingdoms. So how many kingdoms do you have? 5. But the last one is divided into 10. All right? But then there's another kingdom that comes, and this one demolishes. Oh, by the way, there are so many other interpretations. There are people, let me not get into that. But there's a kingdom that comes and destroys this image on the feet, because it has to destroy it at the feet, because that's the current reigning kingdoms. And then By the way, even Babylon continues to live through the 10 kingdoms. You see that the pagan religion and the pagan philosophies of Babylon did not die even though Babylon died. They continued. Greek continued. Rome continued. Right through. That is why when the rock hits the image, you don't only have toes. The image is still there. The philosophies ran through up until the last. What we embrace now, what we think is new, if you were to look seriously, there's a unbroken line all the way from Babylon. Actually, in the book of Revelation, when God addresses apostate Christianity, he calls it Babylon. So there is some similarity in your apostate Christianity today that resembles the false system that were prevailing during the time of Babylon. When Daniel comes to interpret, I know we're in Daniel chapter 3, but I'm raising Daniel chapter 2 because Daniel chapter 3 is a protest against Daniel chapter 2. So let's see what Daniel chapter 3 is protesting against. So that's what I'm trying to do. I haven't forgotten that this is Daniel chapter 3. But Daniel chapter 3 is more of a critique, if you please, something that says, no, I have a better image and a better dream than Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 3 is a dream that was not dreamed, it's wishful thinking. And so now, let's go back to Daniel chapter 2. So what do we see in Daniel chapter 2? If we look at the interpretation of the image and the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, which is a serious implication, by the way, but I'm not going to get into that. The dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, Daniel starts off by saying, of course, it's you, the King of Kings. But then there's a statement there that we miss out. And the statement says, God gave you your kingdom. So you the head of gold, you are the head of gold, but God gave you that kingdom. But that must have surprised Nebuchadnezzar because Nebuchadnezzar conquered Israel and other nations. It was military conquest. But in the scheme of God, in the divine scheme, it is God giving you the kingdom. I mean, if you read the whole prophecy, all the way, even before Nebuchadnezzar, even before Babylon had occupied the stage, God had already foretold through Habakkuk, through Jeremiah, through other prophets, that he will bring the Chaldeans to punish Israel. But the Chaldeans were not even there. Actually, God calls Babylon. Okay, let's study this again. God calls Nebuchadnezzar his servant. Now, when Nebuchadnezzar walks into through his soldiers, walks into in Jerusalem and takes the article in the temple, Daniel chapter 1 verse 1 says, and God gave Jehoiakim into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, and the articles that were in the temple of God, he gave them to Nebuchadnezzar. But if you read the history as it is, Nebuchadnezzar with his soldiers, they were not given, they took the articles. They were not given Israel. They went and conquered them and captured them and took them to Babylon. They were not given, they fought. So in their minds, not only did they conquer Israel, but they conquered the God of Israel. Because if a nation conquers another nation, then that nation has conquered even the God of that nation. Which means those who have been conquered must now change their God and worship the God of the conquerors. So I say, if your God cannot change you, then you must change your God. So you have to change your God if your God is not meeting up, is not meeting the expectation. And the problem with us, we stay with gods that don't deliver. We keep thinking that they will deliver at some point. You're getting lost and you decide to accelerate instead of changing the direction. So Daniel chapter 1 verse 1. Daniel chapter 1 verse 1 says right there that you were given. Now I said Nebuchadnezzar was a servant. In the temple of Israel, you wouldn't get in unless you are a priest or a high priest. High priest once in the most holy place. Priest would go in and out. But if you are, even if you are a king, you get in there, you will suffer. Some tried. Then you come with leprosy. You wouldn't get in. But those soldiers went in, nothing happened. They took the articles and nothing happened. Then the question is why? It is because by the time they went in there, they were already consecrated by God because he calls them his servant. So they were working as God's priests. That's why they could not be. You see, Israel felt if they get in, they're in trouble. But they were not in trouble. Nothing happened to them. Because at that time, they were doing God's assignment. And hence, Daniel 1:1 says, and God gave. So the articles were taken into Babylon. Do you know, after Babylon, 539, Darius Cyrus comes in, and then in Ezra chapter 1, they had to go back. Just to give you an example. When they went back, they had to count all the articles. Can't remember the number now. I didn't think about this. But they had to count all the articles. You can only count against what was registered. What's the point of counting if you don't know why you are counting? In other words, everything must be accounted for because you were given. So in other words, Nebuchadnezzar was the steward of God's holy articles. That is why when Belshazzar took those articles and started drinking from them, God says, no, I can't have this. You are supposed to manage. They are mine. They're not yours. You keep them in safety. So now what are you doing? Drinking from them? While the wine was in the lips, there was a hand, mene tekel of farse. That's the last wine you're going to drink. So for Nebuchadnezzar, towards the end of the interpretation of the dream, you could understand why he said, this one is the God of gods. So let's follow me now. So we're going to analyze chapter 3 against the backdrop of chapter 2. So God gives, and then he says, after you shall come another kingdom. But in Daniel chapter 4, he has already told us, now we can read Daniel chapter 2 from Daniel chapter 4, that I give the kingdom of heaven to whomever I choose. So Persia does not come, but Persia is brought by God. In other words, as I said, Babylon does not expire, does not reach an expiration date, whatever. It doesn't reach a sell-by date. God judges and brings Persia. And when Persia fails, he brings Greece. When Greece fails, he brings whomsoever. He chooses. So God chose Cyrus. In the book of Isaiah, God speaks about Cyrus. He calls him his anointed one. He calls him by name. He says his name is Cyrus. 200 years before Cyrus is born, God says, I'm going to bring Cyrus. So when Cyrus was told by the Jews that actually your name is in our books, in our Bible, Cyrus then felt impressed to release Israel to go back. And he says, because God has actually given me this kingdom, I now set you loose, go back and build, giving them money and everything, because he regarded himself as a steward, as a king under the king. That's the implication. We're not going to get into too much. That's the implication of chapter 2. Of course, then the stone comes, which is just the climax of everything. Now, that stone will have to come and can come only if Jesus Christ rules. You see, it's easy to say, yeah, it's okay, God one day will rule. No, God rules now. That's why he's going to rule again one day. You see, rules now. So God rules and brings his kingdom. Because he rules and brings his kingdom. So actually, that was what was amazing, surprising, shocking for Nebuchadnezzar is that he understood the dream very well. That one day God will set up his kingdom. So he said, but I want you to bow before this image. If you don't bow, I'm going to burn you alive. And God cannot protect you because he's only coming at the end. So what shocked him was to discover that though he had thrown in 3, there was the 4th one. And he says it's like the Son of God. So he understood and came to acknowledge that this is a divine being. So the one who's coming is here. He's in the fire. So, and that's the certainty of his coming. Because this person who's coming is here. Now, I was listening to one preacher and he says, and then when the boys were thrown to the fire, and then God decided to come, and deliver his children. That's too late. But of course, that's. I'm not saying I had a problem with the sermon, but that was a powerful sermon. It's just that part was missing. Now the point here is, which is very important together. God does not come when you are in troubles. Troubles reveals his presence. The problem with paganism, their gods come when you call them. When you are in trouble, they come. When you are dead, they come. When this thing, they come. And you wonder, where are you coming from? Where are you from? No. No, God is there. Actually, if you read Psalms 23 says, when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, you will come. It doesn't say you will come. He says, I will fear not even because thou art with me. It doesn't say, I will fear not even because you will come. Thou art with me. So when we are facing difficulties and things are so bad, we pray, oh Lord, please, Jesus, come. He's here. In the fire, he did not come. The fire revealed his presence. So when they asked them to leave, of course, you didn't see him. He didn't get out. He didn't come out because he didn't get in. And you see these three boys walking, you know there's a fourth one. You may not see him. Invisibility does not mean absence. So he gets into the fire, then you see him. All the boys knew Christ was with them. They didn't have a problem. Just that Nebuchadnezzar didn't know that. Because he's the one who was excited. They knew he was there. All right, let's go to chapter 3. Then chapter 3, there's an image. Quickly now. That image, interestingly, is gold all the way from head to toe. So what is it challenging? There will be no other kingdom after me. In other words, God does not bring in whomever he chooses. In Daniel chapter 3, that is not going to happen. In Daniel chapter 3, Nebuchadnezzar says himself as the king of kings. God will not come. I will reign forever. No kingdom comes. Secondly, what you see, there's no stone that comes. The second coming has been cancelled. And some of us will be very happy to hear that. Face it, I'll come back to that. I mean, you have to be honest at some point and say, you know what, I love this thing of the coming of Christ, but if you were to cancel it, I won't cry. Because if heaven is cancelled, then there's no hell, eh? That has to be cancelled as well. So that's not a bad idea. So we always dream that this whole second coming project will be cancelled. And then the third thing you see in that image, then we read it from verse 4 and 5. Now don't forget these three things, because we're going to come back and look at them. Is that there's forced worship. I didn't say worship, I said forced worship. Forced worship. How many things? What's the first one? Forced worship is the last one. What's the first one? We have short-term memory. Remember the last thing that was said. That's what. You know, somebody said we are having a problem with the games we play, with the computers and everything, and all the gadgets. We have actually externalized our brains, our memories. We're not keeping anything here. You keep it in the gadget. The memory is in the gadget. Your phone numbers, there was a time when phone numbers were here. Phone numbers are in the gadget. Names are in the gadget. Birthdays are in the gadget. Everything is in the gadget. Now, if you remove, the function of the brain is to keep things. If you're not keeping anything in the brain, what's going to happen? You're going to lose it. You see, nature does not allow vacuum. If it doesn't work, it shuts it down. Very soon, your name will also be in the gadget. What's your name? Okay, my name. You can't remember. By the way, that's the easiest way to destroy a nation, is to destroy their thinking capability. And that's where we are. That's where we are with this gaming and these all other things that I'm not going to mention. They're challenging the whole machinery. And we are just doing machines and not thinking machines. Number one, so kingdoms will not come. All right, so everything is permanent. Number two, second coming is not there. There's no store. Number three, forced worship. You remember those now? Put them in your external memory. All right, let's go. Let's look at the first one and see what implication it has for us. So the first thing that Nebuchadnezzar preaches in chapter 3 is that things that are temporal have become permanent. That's the first lie. And you're going to see that thread right through. Because if things that are permanent, temporal have become permanent, then there's no need for the second coming of Christ. Because that second coming destroys everything. So it shouldn't come because things are permanent. Now because things are permanent that are here, then you must worship those things that are permanent. Hence the call to worship the image. Because worship by definition is a focus on that which is permanent. You can't worship something that wasn't and is and may not be, and you worship it. So when you worship, you are saying, you are permanent. I'm here because of you. So you see those three things? So that temporal philosophy runs through all those three aspects that I'm going to. Hence we said, wilderness are by definition temporal. And if you challenge that, then your whole structure falls. So that's the first thing that Nebuchadnezzar puts out there. He says, listen, my kingdom will last forever. And that's the desire that Nebuchadnezzar had. It is not a good thing to be told that your kingdom will come to an end. It's not nice. So when Daniel says, you the King of Kings, he started smiling. But he says, then after you, he says, never. There's no after me. I want to rule forever. I want to be there forever. I want this thing that's supposed to be temporal to be permanent. I want it to be there forever, never losing it. And that's the desire that we all have in our hearts. That the little temporal things we have, we pretend as if they are permanent. Our greatest challenge is to make things that are temporal permanent. So we have to be reminded every day, no, it is temporal. I'm going to give you three reasons why temporal things should always remain temporal. You know, youthfulness is temporal. I know that because there was a time when I was young. Now I know I'm not young. I always say, you know you're not young when you open your cupboard, you have a supplement for this and a supplement for memory and a supplement for back pain and a supplement for knees and a supplement for eyes. You've got supplements everywhere because you can't make it, but you know you are young when all you do is drink water and you are fine and strong. You see, the problem with youthfulness, you may think when you experience, when you are in it, you may think it's forever. But it's okay to think like that. It's fine. Doesn't matter what you think. It's temporal. But that has serious implication. That has serious implication. And I can say it here because you are my friends. Listen, you may be 18 years old and 20 years old, and when you pass anywhere, when you are at SDASA on Sabbath or whatever, guys turn their heads. It's normal. It's okay. You don't want people not to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't last. There will come a time when they will say to you, sorry, this money has passed. I mean, you know, there's something better than you. You have become an obstruction. Askis Goko, askis. It's temporal. So what am I trying to say, beloved? I'm saying when you enjoy your youthfulness at 18, 20, remember it will not last. You will not always be the flavor of the month. You will not always be the flavor of the month. And so the Bible says, remember your Creator in the days of your youth. You know why? Because it is in the days of your youth where you think you are the Creator. Now, there was a what did I say? You guys are catching this thing later. I mean, as a delayed response. There was a saying in Cape Town where I grew up that Scotch never dies. Can you finish it? He dies by mistake. And all of them died by mistake. Psalms 90, 10, 12, Moses says, by the way, that's Moses in Psalms 90. It's very important to know that's Moses. Because then you think about his experience and you link it to that text, it's beautiful. That's Psalm of Moses. He says, teach us to number our days. You see, the brevity of your life infuses urgency. When you know that what you have won't last long, then things are urgent. You can't just relax. When you go to the bank and you put in your thing, and it says, when you say, I want to withdraw, okay, do you know when you have money, once in a while when you have money, you go to the bank, not to draw money, just to be able to look at the receipt and see the balance. You just say, draw 100 rand. You don't need 100 rand. You just want to see the balance remaining 65,153 rand, 15 cents. And you leave it there for the next guy. There's money, some of us. And then you take your friend out and stuff like that. But then you go there one day and you say, withdraw 50 rand, insufficient funds. Now, when you see that balance, then you tend to be very careful. Don't work with everyone. You are no longer available. Sorry, I'm not available. You see, brevity infuses responsibility. When you know that it is coming to an end, you tend to be more wiser. So Moses says, teach us to number our days. Let me tell you something, beloved. This is very true. If you were to be told, if you were to be convinced, if you were to know that next week on Wednesday you will die, what you do between now and Wednesday will be different. The reason you live the way you live, you think you still have many years. But you know what? Maybe you are right. Because even when you die, you won't know you are dead. So we can't say you are wrong. Because we can't wake you up and say, you see, now you are dead. We can't. You will still think you are not dead until you wake up and say, oh, so I died. When we went to Binga camp, youth camp, and I saw that third-year engineering student with his body frozen like that, coming out of the water. He was swimming yesterday, enjoying himself. The following day, that body was being retrieved from the water. I looked at that. I said, life is short. Of course, you'll be here tomorrow. Don't worry. Because even if you are not here, you want to know. So nobody can convince you otherwise. Life is what, beloved? It is important what you do with your short life. Some of the choices we make even the shorter life even shorter. We make choices that destroy even this short life. Don't let me get into that. So the brevity of youthfulness and the brevity of life itself. 8 years is nothing. 90 years is nothing. It is a lot if it's still ahead of you. But once you have lived it, you look back, it's like it was yesterday. Life lived is so short, but life ahead is like huge. But not only that, beloved. The life of sin is short. You see, if you embark on a project to enjoy sin, you must know it's not going to be long. I mean, take for an example. If you're going to get into drugs, I mean, you know, already you can tell how long you're going to live. So that's how long you're going to enjoy this. I mean, it's a given. You're not going to go very far. I said that to one of my relatives. I said, young man, you need to have your matric so you can have money to be able to pay for your drugs. Because he was using drugs. I said, get money. Otherwise, you'll be stealing. Then now, you will be killed for stealing. And yet you wanted to use your drugs. Have money to order to sponsor your habit. You're not going to be here for long. So that's why I love you. Because I can almost see me. I'll be living and you'll be dead. So I have to embrace you now. That's true. So what does Moses say? I quoted Moses. What does Moses say? And this is what we have to do. When you are right there in the midst of enjoying sin, then you have to say, hey, how long are you going to do it? How long? How long? You enjoy going to parties, but you can never be at a party at 80 years of age. They don't allow you. So even the life of going to a party itself is very short. You marvel. You marvel when you see a person says, yo, we're going for a party. They say, for how long? So Moses says, on Crossroad, he says, let me rather go and suffer with God's people than to enjoy sin for a short time. You go to Egypt now, those pyramids, that's where Moses' colleagues are. His pharaohs, the other pharaohs You would have been a pharaoh. You would have been one of those pyramids. But we know that Moses is not in those pyramids. That God came and resurrected him. That choice he made actually made him to embrace permanence. And I know we've said it. We said, no, sin is ugly. In the only son. Like he's late now. He says to me, I'm from the movies on Sabbath. He was staying at home. So he says, Jongimpi, that's my name. He says, what is nice? What is in don't let them landing a bioscope? We call it bioscope then. You call it whatever, it's movies. So what is nice about bioscope? I'm looking at him, I'm having bread in my mouth now. Because I'm hungry, I'm eating. So he says, so I'm coming from bioscope. He says, on Sabbath? I said, yeah. So what? There was bioscope on Sabbath, so what's wrong? So I went there. So I'm not saying it's right, that's me before New Testament. So he says, it struck me. He says, what's nice about that? I looked at him. I almost said, what's nice about going to church? Because I've been there, there's nothing nice there. So you think I'm foolish? You think I will choose to go to the movies, which is not nice, and not go to church, which is nice? What do you make of me? You think I've got two things. Church is nice, movies is not nice, so I go to that which is not nice. Can't you at least give me some credit that this thing that I've chosen is nice? It is. Face it. It is nice. For how long? My school teacher, science teacher, I can still see her with her hoarse voice. We used to give her some serious challenges in our class. And she said, you know what? These movies that you go to those days, Enter the Dragon, Fist of Fury, Bruce Lee. Guys left school for those things. They left school. Today they've not gone through school. I don't want to use words, but they've not gone through school because of those things. You know what my teacher said? And that has remained with me. He says, these films will be there even after school. I said, never. That's not true. Do you know today there is Enter the Dragon? Today I've got my degrees there, and I can sit there and watch. But there are people who lost school because of that. It's still here today. Talk about temporal things that are lasting. So how long? Here's a nice thing about brevity. Third thing. So I said youthfulness is short, your life of sin is short. Pain does not last long. There are people who think I'm in pain, it will be here forever. No, beloved, pain is short. There are two things that will happen when you go through pain. One, you die or it disappears. You can't both last. You know what people do? Very strange. I'm going to commit suicide. Why? Because I can't face this pain. Okay, so what is the pain going to do to you? The pain is going to kill me. Okay, you're too fast for me. Now, slowly, help me. So what are you saying? The pain will kill me. So what are you going to do? I'm going to kill myself. Why? So that the pain should not kill me. It's like if I don't kill myself, I'll be in this pain forever. No, that's not true. Don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself. Pain does not last. Or you will not last. That pain will destroy you. You'll be dead. You can't be hungry for 30 years. Never. You'll be dead within months, within few days, you'll be dead. So if I'm going through hunger now, it's either hunger will disappear or I will disappear. It's temporal. And I'm saying it to you. Whatever pain you are going through is temporal. Don't make permanent decisions. Suicide is permanent on something that is temporal. I'm saying it because we have seen young people doing that. And you may think you cannot do it, but you never know. It's temporal. I'm shouting so that you can hear it. It's temporal. Whatever pain you are experiencing, believe me, beloved, it will pass. It will. It will pass. If it doesn't, you will pass. Number 2, that's temporal. So kingdoms come and go. The kingdom of your youthfulness will go. The kingdom of your sin will go. And the kingdom of your pain will go. All right? Doesn't last. So number 2, the second coming. Remember in that stage in Daniel chapter 3, there is no rock that comes. There is no what? There's no stone that comes. The stone doesn't come. We're going to run out of time, and I keep looking at my watch, and I keep hoping that it's going to be past. But there's no stone that comes. But it makes sense, beloved. It really makes sense why Nebuchadnezzar would have a problem with the stone. Now, I'm talking about Nebuchadnezzar. Maybe different from you, with you, as far as you're concerned. Now, check. Nebuchadnezzar could do whatever he wants to do. Nebuchadnezzar had a problem with the second coming of Christ because of the implication. You remember we said yesterday that that second coming of Christ actually demands that you be righteous, that you break off your sins, because Christ is coming. So Christ is coming. It's the kingdom of righteousness. You must also be righteous to be part of that kingdom. So if you're not righteous, then that kingdom will spew you out. That's bad. Now, the problem with Nebuchadnezzar is, okay, that kingdom may come, but I don't like what I'm supposed to do to be part of that kingdom. I don't like that. For Nebuchadnezzar, because it meant that there are certain things I mustn't do because of this coming kingdom. Now I must treat the poor. Now I must do this. Now I must be righteous. Now I must do this. Now I must go to church on Sabbath. Now I must do these things I never used to do. I mean, life is so wonderful. Now, I was with some young people in one church, and I said, let's dream of a beautiful world. It's amazing when you can hear young people talking. Now, some of you can actually fit in within that scope. So let's dream. If you think of something beautiful, what would it be? Oh, stony ginger beer. No. Have you ever thought of like rivers of stony? I mean, when we were young, like, I'll be drinking stony. Now, for some of us, it was condensed. If I can just have condensed milk. Like buckets and buckets of condensed milk. I mean, that thing, you would just taste it and steal it and say, woo, it's heaven. One day when I work, I'll buy liters and liters, and I'll sit there and drink condensed milk. What's in the mind is not the same as what is in the hand. And the mind tends to exaggerate things, but when you have it, it's not the same as what you imagined. So Nebuchadnezzar would not want the second coming because it would take his condensed milk. It would mean all kinds of things that he must stop. And life is so good. Do you know, beloved, I'm coming closer to you now. Do you know one of the challenges with heaven? Some of us all want to go to heaven because we don't want to go to hell. Not all of us, some of us. We don't want to go to hell, not because we want to go to heaven, but there's no other choice. So you might as well go to heaven. You see, that's why people who don't believe in this whole process of heaven, it has become a place for cowards. It has become a place for non-thinkers. It has become a place for failures and losers. You hear so much about hell, and then you hear about heaven. You go to heaven not because you are excited about heaven, but because you fear hell. You know deep down in your heart that you're going to be bored in heaven, but you'd rather be bored in heaven than to burn in hell. Now, I'm going to be straight with you. Now, check here. Now, I fall in that group also. Check here. Tomorrow you are getting married. Who a day before his marriage prays this prayer? I've made this illustration everywhere I go. Who prays this prayer? Lord, please come tonight. Who prays that prayer? Unless there's something wrong with that commitment. But who says, Lord, tomorrow is my wedding day. I've been waiting for this day. Oh, please come, Lord Jesus. Come even tonight, Lord Jesus. No, you don't want someone about the second coming when you know that you're going to be wedding in a week or so. You say, please, I want Jesus to come, but please, not now. Let me first get wedded, and then after a week or two, you're so miserable in your marriage, and you wish he had come before you got married. But what is happening here, beloved? There are certain things in our minds that are more beautiful than heaven. And those things we would like to experience before heaven, because heaven will destroy the opportunity of experiencing those things. Let me say that again. Heaven becomes an anticlimax. So heaven must wait until I've enjoyed all these things. When I've done so, then heaven can come. We want heaven when we have done everything nice, then heaven must come. So there's nothing good about heaven. Nothing. So we may blame Nebuchadnezzar, but if we had a chance, we would have a statue with no stone coming. Actually, our minds have images, and those images don't have the second coming of Christ. I know that for a fact. You have dreams in your life. You've got all kinds of ambition, but I don't see the stone in your dreams. Yes, I'm going to get married. I'm going to do this. But there's no, and then Christ will come. There's no coming of Christ. And you wonder, but there's a stone, not in my kingdom, not in my image. We have images here that have no stone, and it shows in the way we live. Okay, let me just put this thing together quickly. I think I'm also guilty of wasting too much time here. Let me put this thing. I want us to agree with those who say second coming is not going to be here. Let me agree with you, it's not coming. Let's cancel this. There's no stone. Let's agree. But let's say, let's just imagine if it were true. Would you have a problem with that? See, what I'm trying to say is, do you have a problem with the second coming of Christ as challenging the facticity of it, or you are worried about what it actually means? Let me say that again. Are you challenging the facticity that it's a fact, or you say even if it were a fact, it would be a bad thing? Now I'm saying, if the second coming of Christ were true, if that idea was true, then it wouldn't be a bad idea. That's what I'm trying to say. It wouldn't be a bad idea. If the second coming of Christ is true, if it is true, it won't be a bad idea. Let me tell you the implication of that. I'm not going to get into other issues here. Let me tell you the implication of that. Oh, by the way, Africans don't have second coming of Christ in their religion. We have people becoming ancestors, and that's it. Ancestor, until whatever. But people become ancestors. But the problem with that, not everyone can become an ancestor. A child who dies cannot become an ancestor. So if you lose your child, you don't know what's going to happen. You see, second coming was one of those lights that just appeared in our African horizon. Then we said, you know what, there's something here that's beautiful. That's one of the reasons why we were attracted to Christianity. You see, the second coming just brings hope. A mother who loses a 10-year-old, that's the end. That child cannot be an ancestor. You can't account, you can't say what. You cannot even help comfort a woman who has lost a child, because that child is gone forever. And the next thing that you're going to hear, that child was seen there. That child was seen there. He was running there. He was going there. You are mourning for the rest of your life, and your child never dies. That's a terrible belief. You know why? Because when kids die, there's foul play. When kids die, it's a foul play. When kids die, somebody has done something wrong to those kids. That's why they won't go anywhere. They are roving spirits. So about 12 uzabe ekhala sithi yeah. Do you ever hear those stories? There's a child who drowned here, so that body was never found, and the child keeps coming every night, and that's your child crying every night, and that's your child. And then you say to me, let's dwell with second coming and remain with those myths. Of course, there are those who say, but they put it nicely. No, they don't say there's no second coming. They just say when you die, you go straight to heaven. That's a disaster. To go straight to heaven after death is a disaster. You don't want that. That thing just runs against every sense, everything that makes sense, every reason. It's a nice way of destroying the second coming. That is why in most churches, they don't talk about the second coming. Why? Because their friends and their brothers and their mothers are already in heaven. So who needs the stone? So when you die, we celebrate. Say his day has come. God has taken him to heaven. That's disaster. I was addressing the municipality there at Mount Olive, and I'm saying to the mayor, you know what, mayor? We have established this center of influence here. We have established this center, and the villagers are there, so that these people in this village will not go to heaven. We don't want them to go to heaven. We want them to live long. In other words, we don't want them to die. Because when you die, you go to heaven. This church does not want people to go to heaven. I belong to a church that does not want people to go to heaven. We establish schools. We've got herbs there because we don't want you to go to heaven. We want you to live. You see, the moment you've got a belief that says people who die go to heaven, you lose interest in life. You lose the research ability to find things that will prolong life. What's the point of studying? What's the point of knowing about diseases when people who die go to heaven? In other words, you cannot go study to prevent God from taking you to heaven. It kills progress. They can never. Tribes and, tribes and nations and languages that embrace this belief can never progress. Tanukala. What do we do there? What was his name? When Lazarus died, Christ comes. No one said, Christ, where is Lazarus? Because that was the right time to say, and then, where's my brother? They just said, if you were here, he would not have died. Then I asked, who was there? It's found in John chapter 10. The thief, the destroyer, the one who comes to steal. I've come that you might have life. Beloved, if we see death as transport, then we cannot see Jesus as life. Let me give you the implication. What it means when we believe that Jesus Christ is coming again. It means in chapter 1 that when those boys were there in Eden, you know, the second coming helps you to deal with your pain and disappointment. Because it is the second coming that says this pain is not forever. No, the second coming. Second coming says resurrection. Second coming says another life. Second coming says this pain is for you to master it so that you can learn to live. And if you qualify, you live again. Second coming says there will be another time to live. But now you've got this pain and disappointment. You must shine through this disappointment so that you can live again. Again, living again is not for losers. You couldn't deal with your 40 years. You committed suicide at 20. You had 40 years to live, but at 20, you couldn't take it, and you want God to give you life eternal. What are you going to do with eternity? What you couldn't do with 50 years? You messed up your 50 years. Now you want eternity. You couldn't even manage the resource of your 50 years. Now you want eternity. Now what makes this life interesting is that with its pains and disappointment, there is something better, and that something better gives me the opportunity to prepare for it now. So you see in Daniel chapter 1, they land in Babylon. You know what they do? They land in Babylon. You'll be disappointed. Your parents are not there. You are there alone. And then, let's just do whatever they want us to do. Let's survive. You don't survive when the second coming. You leave. And say, we cannot eat this thing. We don't want to defile ourselves. We want to take care of our bodies. We may be slaves and we may have been captured in Babylon, but we want to take care of this thing. We don't know how long we're going to live, but as long as we live, we're going to do the best we can to prolong whatever life we have. The second coming creates appetite for living. It creates appetite for life. You are not suicidal when there's second coming. Even when there's no hope, you can still say, I'll move. As long as I can breathe, I'll still go. As long as I can whatever. As long as there's hope in my blood, I can go. So those boys start having plans even though they are captured. What's the point of taking care of your body? You're going to die in any case. What's the point of exercising in the morning? It's because you don't believe in the second coming. Second coming says, I'm going to give you a new body. But how will I give you a new body when you messed up the old one? You take care of this body so that you can get a new one. God will give you responsibility. He will give you a body because you have been faithful in this one. That's what the Bible says. You have been faithful in the least. I will make you faithful, even those that are greater. Now, if you cannot take care of this body, yes. Oh, come on, get out of here. That life creates the appetite for living. And not only that, if you go to Daniel chapter 6, it says, in Daniel, there was a spirit of excellence. He said, oh, my daughter, score. As long as it's 45%, it doesn't matter. No, you can't when the second coming. When the second coming, your assignment is marked by God. Well, you don't think about your teacher. You think about God, that if I submit this crappy thing, how can I be given an assignment in heaven when I can't deal with assignments on earth? So when you work on that assignment, it is a divine assignment. It is an assignment that God has given to you, and you do the best you can. You don't settle for 44%. The second coming infuses in us the desire for excellence, the desire for excellence. We're living at a time when mediocrity is synonymous with sanctity, with sanctification. There are people who think the closer you come to Christ, the more mediocre you become. That we must celebrate mediocrity. He's humble. He's akazi, but he's humble. So that people who are humble are supposed to be ignorant. People who are humble are supposed to be mediocre. And we celebrate that in my church. Who told you about yes? The moment you fool, so you are already a threat. You just say fundil. What's happening here? What has happened to us, beloved? That we embrace mediocrity in the name of God, who calls himself, my name is excellence. His name is excellence. And what do? We promote mediocrity. Practice. Can't even get the pitch. And the next thing, you want to be singing with angels. How are you going to sing with angels when you don't take what God has given you? You develop your talent. If you think you can sing, go to school and study music. Develop that talent. Learn what music is all about. Know what you are singing, why you are singing it. What's the origin? Read, study. If it's your talent, develop it. Let me tell you something. When God gives you a talent 5, he wants 10. That's in the Bible. He gives you 5, he wants 10. He gives you 8, 1, 16. You must double it. Don't be like that unfaithful steward. Uniki, one, we say 1. You can think like that when there's no second coming. Beloved, I'm saying to you, SDASA, it's time for us to embrace excellence. Don't be a disappointment to God and to yourself. No, you can't. Don't let your kids be ashamed of you. Oh, daddy. Hey, now get Papa says, oh, that was our tea. All right, I've got to bring this to an end. We're not going to touch on false worship because that's going to take us into prophecy. Daniel 7, Daniel 12. We'll probably find some time and bring that part together. But let me end and say, false worship will come. It came for them. It will come for you. If you read your prophecy, Daniel chapter 7 says there was a little horn. You see those 10 toes and the stone? There's this entity between the 10 toes and the stone. That little horn, he changes times. He pompous words against the Most High. He persecutes the Most High. Those who stand for God are going to be persecuted. The time has come for us young people, my friends, my brothers and sisters, to be ready to stand for God through thick and thin. It's nice to listen to music and sing, and nice. But there are times where we have to sit down and apply our minds and see what is happening and read. We've got to do that. And we need to train our young people to stand for God. We need young people that can stand for God. You need a faith that can withstand adversity. We need to develop that faith today. When I look at my kids, I don't know where they will be next year. I don't know where they will be 10 years from now. But we've got to develop a faith that can stand. You need to develop fiber. You need to develop muscles that can stand on your own alone. Some of us are collective being. We all go, dining hall. Can't you just make up your mind and say, it's time, and then you go. Practice going alone. Of course, not all the time. But practice going alone, beloved. I mean, I know some of us have girlfriends here. You've got to be able to say, you know what? You know what? Listen, you're my girlfriend, eh? I'm busy. I'm seriously busy. But I'm not busy. Fine. But don't come and do your no business here with me. I'm busy. But put it in a nice romantic way. I'm busy. Even though you are not busy, but you're just practicing. You can't always be available. You can't always be available. Oh, thank you. I was thinking about that also. Veluthi no man yazi kodwa enza yenza. But you sakwenza ntona. But at least ngimtshela indaba zakho. You've got to be able to stand on your own, beloved. Now, these boys, have you noticed something about these boys? Daniel was not in the three. Have you noticed? It was only that because Daniel was the spokesperson. So the devil says this one is the one who gives the whole thing. There's always an individual that keeps the group going. You know, there's always this one person that keeps the group going. So take away Daniel and then let's see. So Daniel was out there doing whatever, but the three boys were there. They stood for God. Daniel, but there is sponsors. Guys, here's the story. Teach yourself to do things you must do, even if you don't feel like doing them. Teach yourself to tell your body what it must do, not the other way around. There are times when you're watching a movie and then it says 9:30 tomorrow, I've got to go for prayer at 5. I'm not going to watch this thing. But the body says stay. Then it says, no, you can stay. I'm going. That's what Joseph did, by the way. He says, I'm going. The jacket can remain, but I'm going. And some of us run with the jacket and they leave the body there. They'll get it tomorrow. All right. The point, beloved, is we need to bring up members who don't just drink fuel because the pastor said so. Africans, we depend so much on people who are leading us to a point where we're going straight into the ditch. We need to be able to say, I love you, my pastor, but I disagree with what you've just said. I'm not going to do it.